have people countries, definitely, yes. Mhm.
And I do a lot of work with Britta, and she's presented on this topic a few years back. It was riveting. The content was just so thorough, a lot of research. I know she's prepared well for this and she's making sure it's interactive as well. We'd love to hear your voices. Isn't this the type of topic where we need other people's thinking? We need that approach of the World Café where, generatively we're building on others' ideas and experiences as well. So Britta is a fantastic coach. She's done a great deal of work with Coaches Without Borders, a lot of charity work, and she is presently living in Kenya, but works all over the world with her different coaching engagements. And without taking any more time of the session, over to you, Britta.
Yes, thank you so much, Claire, and thanks again to Claire and Beckett McEnroy for the invite. It's one of my favorite topics. 1 hour is very condensed. I try my best to put as much as possible content in this. Welcome, everyone. I see some familiar faces. That's great. It's also very helpful to have people calling in from different places. And to start off, while I introduce myself, please put in the chat where you're calling in from. I'm calling in from Kenya, as Claire has already said. I'm a German nationality, Swedish by choice, and based in Kenya, just to make it more complicated. So I've lived across continents and just clocked my 1000th coaching session last month. And yeah, I'm happy to be here. So, because it's so rich, I will start sharing my screen with a little bit of sharing what we're going to do today. Yeah, so my company is called Coaching Across Borders, which has a little bit of a touch to my passion. I am passionate about different cultures, being curious about different cultures, struggle with my own cultures. And so we will explore today what that means to, what different cultural traits mean for us as coaches and why does that? No, so the session flow today is we have welcome and connections. That's where we're at now. And then we will dig into just framing what is culture, what are different layers of culture. Some of this may be already known to you. And then we will do some cultural mapping and we'd have an interactive experience there, an interaction, which is fun. And we have some reflections and breakout rooms and so on. So why are we doing this today? So we will explore cultural traits and how they vary across contexts. There are a few names that I will name here that have done lots of great research. One of them is Erin Meyer, which I love. I love her concept. Then there's Hofstede, forgot his first name, sorry. And then there's Paul Rosinski. So all of them are coaches or researchers and have done a lot of work around this topic. If you're interested, you can dig deeper. There are also on the net some tools where you can input your cultures and other cultures to see how are they different. It's actually very exciting and very interesting. Then we will also, the objective is on how these traits, once we understand and have come across these traits, how will they impact our coaching and team coaching relationship, both with the other person in the room, but also how are they impacting us as a coach. So then we have consider how cultural dynamics affect us as coaches. That's the self-management part. And we will explore some of your experiences and mine. Yeah, and that's the last point, share insights and experiences. So far, any questions? Philip, sorry, yes, Philip Rosinski. Sorry, thanks, Karen. So we have Saudi Arabia from Riyadh. I was just about to read Philippines, but no, it's Philip Rosinski. We have from Kigali, Rwanda, fantastic. Alice, hello, familiar face. We have Mukhtar from Kuwait. We have London, UK, I believe, Estonia. Okay, again, Saudi Arabia, we have Kenya, and I've seen lots of familiar faces from Kenya. Hello, Karibuni. Hello from Dubai. Addis, Canada, UK again, Liverpool, England, Nigeria. Wow, that's amazing. Serbia. So yes, we have a great mix of cultures in the room. Any questions from you so far? All right, so let's explore what is culture. Now, you may have seen this visual before. It's the iceberg, and the person behind this is called Hall. Again, forgot his first name. It's a very familiar thing, or it's been used a lot, and we have what we see in culture and what we don't see in culture. So what we see in culture is, for example, food and other things, and I will help you with this for now. Language, festivals, foods, traditions. We can spend a day to fill this part of the iceberg, what is actually above the surface, the iceberg that you see. But now, what's the Titanic danger or the Titanic below the surface that we don't see and that can hit us in both ways, positively and negatively? And for that, I will now invite you for an interactive tool. Please go to Menti, enter the code, and then you have each of you has two inputs for what you think is below the iceberg. What is it that we don't see? What is a cultural trait that we don't see that may impact our coaching? So let me just stop this for a minute. And I will pull up the slide. Are you ready? Yes, there's the code. Thank you so much. Sorry for stopping the sharing before. My bad. Thanks, Claire. I'm trying to share. So you will have the code again here. So hopefully once you start inputting, and we will see the outcome. Yay! At least the tool works. Personality, habits. Yes, cultural norms, values. What else do you think is different between, for example, Saudi Arabia and Germany, or UK and Germany? Rituals, I believe rituals, yes. Are there below the surface, or are they something that we can see? Relationship traditions, hobbies, religion, definitely. Family values, how we see others. Code of ethics. Gender interaction, very interesting. Yes, gender is a very different trait in cultures, can be very different. Gender, culture, how we see. I'll give you 2 more minutes. I think, how many do we have in the room? 29, so that should be, everyone puts in, that should be around 50. Right. Think about something like timing, for example. How does that affect? Or we go into that deeper. Just as an example, scheduling. Or how we communicate. How do cultures communicate differently? A very common example is, for example, East Asian countries, not to put my finger on one, towards, Western countries. Yes.
Britta, actually, I lost the connection, so I put one word. While if you allow me just to add the second one, by saying the thought patterns would be one of the things, but I couldn't write it down. Sorry for that. That would
Okay,
be part of the unseen part of the culture. how the people think.
How do people say
How
that
do
again?
people think? Yeah, the thought patterns, we can say.
Thought
Thoughts patterns. Yeah.
Yes, yes. We will see that soon in the way we make decisions, for example. Or the way we persuade others. All right, so with this, I leave this cloud for now. Any questions? And there's a lot, Claire. I'm going to ask you if there's anything that I'm overseeing in the chat, or there's body language, for example. Great, yes. Worldview, beliefs, so people have put things in the chat. Thank you for that. So I will go back to my presentation. So after you've seen this now, what comes up for you? Let's share. Anything that comes up for you? Any comments, any surprises?
I'm thinking in terms of group or team coaching, you know, especially with dispersed teams as well, the added complexity of it being online and the way the team coach has got to juggle many different cultures, expectations. Sometimes there's a collectivist group in the team who agree with each other and others don't, for example.
Yes, thanks, Claire. And then there's also a comment from Karen. It's amazing how well we do get along and get things done across the world with so many differences. Who's the judge if that works well or not? I leave it as is. One globe, different aspects of life, seeking to understand people from different cultures. And thank you, Claire, for also the team coaching. I've just had a client today who was, just to give you another perspective, coaching teams with different people from different cultures, but now having clients who are leading people from different cultures. That's adding another dimension. I just noticed that today when I had a client who had challenges with navigating teams from different cultures, language barriers, and so on. Cultural confusion, yeah. So I will now invite you to look at a framework by Erin Meyer. Yeah, I've shown this before, but we'll work with it differently today. Erin Meyer has identified different cultural traits. And I just want to say a disclaimer here. That doesn't mean not everyone in this culture is behaving like this. We're talking about traits, and we're talking about something that's been studied. We're not labeling people, oh, you are this and that. Yeah, I just want to be very careful and mindful that we're talking about traits, and that doesn't mean everyone from that same country is acting the same, right? So it doesn't mean that everyone from Germany is on time. I am not. So just to give you an example, and now let me pull up the slide that I've prepared for you. So you might have seen this. These are Erin Meyer's cultural traits. Communicating, evaluating, persuading, you can read for yourself, leading, deciding, trusting, disagreeing, and scheduling. And then there is a spectrum. The spectrum is a very common word nowadays. It's a spectrum. If we take time, for example, where do we have scheduling? The last one. We have those cultures who are known for being more linear. Yep. And we have those cultures which are known to be more flexible. That country I live in, Kenya, for example. So you can probably anticipate some of my challenges. Not saying that like I am more on the flexible, I'm not on the German linear spectrum, but I just wanted to give you an example. That's how these spectrums work. I want you to digest this for a minute. Think about 2 or 3 that are most important for coaching relationships, both in teams and individual. We do not have time to dig into every trait. And then once you're done, we are going to invite you, or I'm going to invite you to put your flag or your sticky note onto the spectrum, and we're going to work with a Miro board. So just look at this for a minute while I'm going to stop sharing while I look for my Miro board. So just give me a minute, and then you'll ask to use sticky notes to move your country on where do you think it is. For now, choose one or two, not to overwhelm you, that you're thinking is interesting to look at. Okay, see you in a minute.
I'm already done, and then I have a question to you, Britta.
Go ahead.
Just observe that, I guess, the fourth pillar, um,
Okay, I think we lost him. So what I'm going to do is, you do not need to create an account. I'm going to put a link into the chat. There you are. Someone just had a question. Was that you, Nadia?
yeah, exactly. So I don't know if it's like intended or it's like by chance. The fourth pillar, which is leading, it was just the only right to left arrow, not like the others, like the scale is going right and left.
Sorry. That's me not being perfect.
Oh, that okay. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry, but I wondered that it may carry something behind.
Down to detail is me not being perfect, and I forgot the arrow. It goes in both directions for all traits. So it's a long link, and try this, please. It's right here, Edward. It's me being slow. And so now, I hope you can see the Miro board. Please give me a thumbs up. Yeah, I can see people coming on. You will see two sticky stacks, the pink and the green one on the top. You can grab a sticky there for those who know Miro. You can also grab pre-made stickies and populate them, copy paste them. So if you grab one UK, you can copy paste them if you need more of them. Sorry, I didn't know who was, I just took a guess of who might be calling in. So please, those countries who are not shown as an individual sticky, mea culpa, my inclusivity, it wasn't possible to look at where participants were dialing in from. Ah, interesting. I like that. So UK is put on the spectrum closer to avoids confrontation. We have lots of people from the UK. Let's see, are we having nodding faces? How are the folks from, yes, we see some nodding faces. I'm probably the only German. I think I am on the other spectrum. And yeah, let's see from some more. I would love to see some of my Kenyan peers. Germans are perfect. Yeah. I don't know where that went. Someone just said something about the link. Did I miss that? Oh, I know I posted it there. Okay, lots of activity going on here. Okay, we also have Zainab here from Kenya. I'd be curious what my Kenyan peers are putting up here. Yelena from Serbia, awesome, good. If you have questions about how to do a sticky, I give you some time.
Britta, could you share the Miro for everyone, just in case anyone's on the phone and they're not acting on it?
I didn't get that. Here it is. It's a lot of activity, so I like to see that. Abenet Bekle, that is, I think, Ethiopia, looking at the name. Manal, maybe. Okay, let me see if I can make this bigger. Okay. Let me try to speech. Okay, so also for UK, we have high context, indirect communication. Can I see nodding faces from those coming from the U? Yes, nodding. Okay, confirmation. Us Germans, very much on the other spectrum and very known for that direct communication. And while we are doing what we're doing, I'll give you an example. There's also a lot about relationship and task-based. Yeah. So task-based means we find trust while we see the task is done well. That's a German trait, or a Western trait. I know a lot of Western for example, the country I live in, it's more relationship based. You trust the person because you know the person. So what that means is, for example, in conversations or in coaching conversations, I tend to, especially when the time is tight and the coachee has a lot to talk about or wants a lot to achieve, I tend to go right into the beef, right into the topic with the first question. And I remember having a coaching conversation and the other person was saying, no, Britta, do you not want to know how I am? And I want to, before I can talk to you, I want to know how you are. How was your week? How was your weekend? Do you not want to know how I am? So that is a constant reminder from me to check in on the relationship level before going into the context, if I coach in those cultures, if that makes sense to you. All right, so we have indirect feedback. Yes, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. I am, or like a lot of countries I have lived in, are on the direct feedback evaluating. But for example, Sweden is very much on the indirect feedback as well. And so is Kenya. So good. Does anyone want to speak about where they're putting their sticky notes and what they're experiencing? As we are running a little bit over time.
I'm quite curious. Love this research. I think it's absolutely fab. And also the way Gen Z are. And I wonder if things will shift because people are so much more connected than they used to be.
Oh, that's just a wonderful insight. Yeah, you mean like social media, internet, just bringing the globe more together. Yeah. Thoughts from the audience?
I believe that in a different generation, even in the same culture, they have different insight. For example, for like the direct or indirect, I see it in the Arabic culture. For example, we all tend to have the indirect. So even on a generational level, they prefer the indirect, for example. But maybe on other spectrum, like task-based or so on, generational difference would be seen even within the same culture.
Okay, thank you for that insight. Anyone else wants to? Okay, I'm getting a request for remote control from my computer. I don't know what that is. I'm declining. Thank you for that insight. Anyone else wants to add to that?
I would like to add shortly. I know people who work for very hierarchical international companies here locally, but the management is from the Far East. And you can tell that they're very, by their like everyday communication, you can tell they're a little bit, compared to the rest of the culture, they're a little bit too polite, too agreeable. It's just because of the environment they work. So in everyday life, they're just like, oh, someone else is making decisions and they would not. So it's that's what I noticed.
they have to adjust, or they're adjusting automatically to their environment. Thanks for that observation. Thank you. I'm curious, Haifa. And what country is Haifa representing?
Presenting Saudi Arabia.
ASA. Okay,
Yes.
wonderful. Okay, interesting. So interesting. You see your country, your culture more on task-based. Interesting. Who else wants to speak what you're experiencing? What are you surprised about? Kenya is on the more on the further to the indirect negative feedback. Yes. I leave this open for another 2 minutes. Then we're just halfway through the session. It's because it's still some activity going on. Now that you reflect on what you're seeing, is there anything that surprises you?
I'm thinking for coaching as well, around the way we are and the way our client needs us to show up and needs us to be around things like confrontation, you know, bravery, fierce courage as it used to be in the ICF competencies. That's quite an interesting one. So sometimes it's matching how they are maybe needed, and other times it's shifting to what they need as opposed to what they want, if that makes sense.
Very great. Yes, very good. Thank you for that, Claire. Thoughts around this from the audience? Let me, Nadia, I see your hand up. I've
I
seen your
guess,
hand.
yeah. I could reflect on this slide by understanding these different pillars of the cultures would be making us more professional about like understanding the culture that will be reflecting on how we can deal with different uh, cultural clients based on these pillars. So if he's from a UK, from UA, from KSA, based on such like assessment, if you can say like an assessment or like a tool, we can know exactly whenever he's in a confrontation side, how to accept the disagreeing and how to deal with him and so on.
Yeah, thank you for that, Nadia. Very insightful. I wanted to get back to what Dr. Claire said. What I understood from you, Claire, is in terms of courageous feedback giving as a coach, using self, using intuition, and bringing it into the room. Now, if you are from an indirect or from the indirect evaluation culture, you might not have that bravery. I'm just assuming. Now you're meeting someone that's also not from the direct culture, but might need this feedback. Is that what you're saying? So in terms of where we are in the coaching, the coachee might be from an indirect feedback culture and not used to be given direct feedback. So, but maybe it's valuable for his coaching journey and his goal achievement. So what does that mean for us as a coach? Where do we need to step up in?
And also thinking of things like the last one, linear and flexible. If we're someone who's very comfortable working with emergence, and yet someone else needs structure, then that can be an interesting conversation around contracting.
Yes, I've had, thank you, Claire. Just sorry, I'm just jumping in. So many examples just recently. Oh, can you tell me how the 6 sessions are going to be structured? Oh, sorry, it's not so much structure. So it's that if you're not familiar with coaching, then the contracting needs to kind of, yeah, exactly. It needs to involve that. And there's so much info in this. How do we create the coaching journey? How do we start the contracting? Then a similar question would be, for example, we have Serbia here in the direct communication, and we have ET and the indirect. I don't know what.
Is it Eritrea?
It is Ethiopia.
Ethiopia.
Yes, yes, yes. Close but different. So if these cultures meet, what is the space in between need? So that's kind of my, or the question to you. How do we now make use of this information? And now we are going into, now we understand the traits. We've seen what is culture made of. We have seen a framework, and now I'm going to stop sharing in a minute. Now we're going more into referring this to what does that mean to our for our coaching relationship. And
as you bring that up, Britta, just to share that Edward wrote in the chat as well about confrontation v avoidance, where honesty is at play. And people sometimes disagree, and sometimes people are polite and they keep quiet and don't share their disagreement. Really interesting.
yes, yes, great. And I thank you for that. And I invite you to all think about your coaching relationships where you felt, sometimes you cannot shut up the inner narrative, the inner voice, even in the best presence, where you are like, how am I gonna say it? How am I going to bring it across without getting the client upset, sad, or like it's that. I invite you to go into yourself. Where in your coaching journey did you have experiences? There's a question about, has Erin Meyer done a research about the map and how cultures are clustered? Top of my mind, there's the book, and she compares cultures she refers to Latin countries and so on. So I do not know, but I guess you can research that. I do have her book and I find it fantastic, but I'm not on top of all her research. So that answers your question. I will now invite you to, and that was the setup, to go into your own coaching experiences, and we're going into breakout rooms in a minute. Safe space, there's no right or wrong, just for reflections. And what I'll invite you to reflect about, where have you experienced cultural traits influencing your coaching positively or as a challenge? And what cultural assumptions might you be bringing into the coaching relationship? So these are the two questions that in a minute, if you can just take a screenshot or remembering them. I haven't opened the rooms yet. And this is more about both. You as a coach, how do you relate and deal with your coachee from a different culture, but also how do you manage yourself? Let's say you get an answer that's completely unexpected because it doesn't hit your gender perception. Yeah, because you come from a equality Sweden, everyone is same. And all of a sudden you get an answer that goes completely against your own belief. And how do you manage yourself? You go into, so that's also something that I want to invite you to not forget to look at it from that perspective, because we always tend to look at how am I going to deal with this client from a different culture. But then there's also myself or ourselves. Okay. Are we ready? Can I stop sharing and open the breakout rooms? And maybe, sorry, that was too close. Maybe we can also put these questions in the chat. Let me just facilitate that. Or maybe they're already in there. Thanks, Claire, for that. Let me just put those questions in the chat for you.
Sorry, Britta, you want me to set up breakouts?
I can also, I was just putting it in the chat. Yeah,
Okay.
I can also do it, whatever. Tell me.
We're done.
Do you want me to do it or you've already done it?
I've done it. Do you want me to open them?
Yes. Enjoy. Around 5 minutes, 6 minutes, 7 minutes. I prompt you.
There we go.
Right.
Yes, hi, Boaz. Salut, just saying hi. I know your network might not be good enough for visuals.
More
And
minutes we
Great.
need.
Dr. Mbite, hi. Dr. How are you? Good to see you. Thank you. How was your experience? Maybe we can have one or two voices from the breakout rooms. What did you discuss?
Okay, I can go.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so we've, and especially it came out in the group coaching. So we talked about, like cultural differences, like you find in some cultures, they dominate conversation and some others are quiet. And also a similar concept about being direct or not direct, and then how important it is for a coach to create psychological safety so people can feel comfortable to share and have an equal share in the room. Also, one of the positive things about being in different culture noticed is that the sharing of knowledge and experience. So having that sort of an environment where that is being an advantage. The other thing is one of the coaches mentioned about, being not from living in a culture, but she's not from the same culture. There's a bit of a stereotyping. I don't know, Emma, if I got that right, but I think that's what you wanted to say before we got cut off.
Yes.
There's a bit of stereotype about the coach. So also the coachees have that perception. Yeah, that's all I'll share to give chance for others to share as well.
Interesting. There's a stereotyping coming from the coach. Is that what you're saying?
No, towards the coach.
Towards the coach.
Yeah, towards the coach. So having an assumption. And probably also, we did not discuss that, but it's actually, I would say it's both ways, right? So you can have also as a coach assumption and stereotyping the type of nationalities of people that you're working with.
That's made me think as well, Britta, of some years back in the Middle East, and a few people wanted a coach that wasn't from the same culture. For whatever reason, they felt they could potentially open up more because of the collectivist society.
Yeah.
And people knowing each other.
Yeah.
And here, maybe because of like the feeling of judgment from the same culture, for example. So this also play another role. One of the things I wrote in the first example was expectations, which was for me, I think it's under the iceberg. Expectations from the coachee as to the coach. So I think this is one of it. Like they would expect if it's someone from the same culture that they would judge them.
Mm-hmm. That's so interesting. Yes, now that you mentioned that, Claire, so many times both ways. Yeah, either they want someone from the same culture, but often when I ask them what led them or what they were expecting or led them to choose, they are saying, I wanted someone from outside to have a different perspective, a complete different perspective. And then like I am in Kenya, which is equally collective, community is a big thing. And even though it's confidential, something that leaks will easily can create chaos in their community, in communities. So the safer space is seen with someone who's not connected so much, or maybe perceivingly not very connected. So that seems to make it safer. Great observations here. Can we hear from some more?
Karen, would you like to proceed with our group insights?
Nadia, is it
this is always a cultural dilemma, because as a high direct, I'm always the one talking, and other people.
This is why I invited you actually to proceed.
Yes, but then I become the dominant culture. I don't want to be like, we never get a chance for
That's the trap.
That's okay, Nadia, go ahead. It's also about, I want to also say, not everything, it's also personality. Yeah, personality comes in and it's hard to draw the line. So
Right.
Nadia, is it correct how I pronounce your name, Nadia? Please go ahead.
Yeah, looks fine. Nether.
Nader. Okay, go ahead.
Actually, within the group, we would like just to appreciate Karen sharing with us her like insightful experience when she had been in the Middle East region, GCC in particular, and then before she go back to the States. And how is the difference between the different culture sides? As just Najla mentioned, that some of the culture they would like to have a different perspective or the other side culture behavior or like culture personality, which is need to be directed most of the time, while in some other of the world they are looking for something different. We just share the insight of the importance of understanding the unseen uh, 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 what they call it, cultural perspectives, like the values. And she shared with us also one of her valuable experience with one of the clients when she had the most valuable value of him. He start proceed and start to talk during the session and elaborate more and more. What else, guys? Karen.
Yeah, so the other thing that was really insightful for me, Britta, is because I've now been back in the US for a year now after being in the Middle East physically for 10 years. And that when I'm there physically, I'm more in tuned, right? When I'm talking to a client, I start off with how are you? How's the family? All those cultural pieces, because I'm embedded in the culture. I may still be seeing these same clients here remotely, but I realize I'm back in my dominant original culture. So I have to be extra sensitive and bring on my cultural hat when I'm talking to them initially. So it's interesting of where I am physically, regardless of who I'm coaching.
Great insight. Thank you for sharing, Nada and Karen. I am curious as we are moving towards the hour, and I'm saying hour because as we are calling in from around the globe, not everyone has it at 7 p.m. So I'm curious to hear about your experiences when you were maybe taken into shock, or maybe it's about self-management and your own growth as a coach. Maybe some of you can share experiences, how you encountered a different culture that affected you and your reaction. And that can just be a mimic or a, yeah. And how did you manage that? What you're learning from that? Sorry, so many stacked questions.
Nada.
Yeah, I would share actually one of my sessions experience with one of a special need client. And, you know, I was shocked when I get to observe the level of bullying he's facing from his family. I thought actually in person, I never been in that entitled for a such like position before, or like a session or experience, but we were from a different cultures, okay, different backgrounds, um, uh, uh, different countries even, and I thought all of a sudden that what I'm hearing is like a part of a movie, like what we are seeing and like in a drama of like a series or something. And what happened that moment actually, and that's part of my belief about the coaching, how is the professional coaching of us, he can manage his emotions, be to the deepest level of the insightful listening of his client. I shared with her actually, with him, my emotions. I acknowledged what she is feeling with. I kept on like asking about like how she did overcome, what she did actually to overcome, what bring into her mind, and how did you plan to bypass and ensure the level of conduction she will be observing, or like she will be achieving, to be on another level of their inspection and on their even understanding. And I'm so glad to say, after the third session, she become one of active member of her family. And by the way of her brilliant, actually thinking way, she had overcome all the challenges and the obstacles. Her brothers and daughters, they put them for her.
Thank you so much, and
Thank you.
congratulations for that successful, for that very successful coaching journey and how you've helped that client. And so what I'm hearing from you, you've managed this well by using self, by sharing your own emotions and sharing what's going on with you. That's my understanding in that moment. Thank you so much for sharing that. I would like to have, with 4 minutes left, just have Wafa. Please also mention where you're from. I love guessing, but I'm a bit stuck with that name. So please share where you're from, so I understand where we're calling, which culture you are from and what you want to say. Thank you.
Oh, I like also guessing. Would you guess that?
That's what I said. I would probably well, Middle East, but that's yeah.
Can I
It's-
guess Lebanon?
Not really. I'm coming from Palestine, but I'm based now in Germany. So
Germany.
I saw the family name is Hillani, so I thought it's Lebanese family name, famous family name.
yeah, maybe I can share from my experience and especially the cultural differences. So I came to Germany actually, and I had a lot of judgmental thoughts. And what I noticed in Germany, that people normally, or at least in the surrounding, they are totally preventing to say their opinions, sometimes in a way to be judgmental. So that's a thing that I have really learned, and I really appreciated when I just noticed that this is really a coaching skill aligned with good listening. So that was really a thing that I appreciated. Also, I would say something about curiosity. Curiosity from the culture that I'm coming from is really high. Like, people are really curious, sometimes annoying with their curiosity, but this kind of curiosity gives people that they care about who you are or whatever. But in Germany, I notice it's not that really strong thing. They don't really even sometimes ask, what are you doing in life? Or how are you doing? This is really something I noticed. Something I really appreciate from the culture that I came from as well is empathy. This is really helps me a lot in coaching. And there's a stereotype about German. I have to admit that many people as well. Sorry, I'm now doing kind of comparison. I hope it's in the right context.
Go
But
ahead. Mhm.
yeah, so empathy. So the stereotype about Germans, they don't show emotions. They are so intellectual. But as soon as a person just builds good relation with people, could see really this kind of empathy without really ignoring the role of mind. And maybe I finish here with a question that I am really interested in, and Dr. Claire maybe will elaborate more in this. It's about somatic coaching and culture. So some people mentioned body language is kind of like explicit or implicit, I'm not sure, thing. So how can we really, if this is a right question, coach body language sometimes, like considering the somatic coaching skills? So this is my part. Thank you for listening, and yeah.
Thank you so much. I will leave the explanation about somatic coaching and body language. I do somatic coaching, but I will leave this with Dr. Claire for going deeper into this. What I'm curious about is, sorry, I just have to ask this because I am German and I've been very curious. Did you say in the beginning that you noticed that Germans do not say their opinion?
So loud. I mean, sometimes, but I mean here in especially in critical things or yeah, they are direct, as you mentioned in the beginning. They are direct in a way of saying things, but some specific topics they prevent to be really saying it loud, especially if they think this could be judgmental, or some sensitive topics. For example, when we come to the vegan, vegetarisch, LGBT, okay, it's loud. So, but this could be not a right observation as well. So this is judgmental part from my side.
I love it. Thank you so much. Just because I've left my country 16 years ago. So this could be something that Claire said earlier. I know we are at the time about generational change. And also now, you know, when there's so much news and there's so much politics, I think, and so much judgment, people have become very, very, very careful about expressing their views, their political or their views that can become political or judgmental. So there's a lot about that perception. That's just my take. Thank you so much for your insights, Wafa, and everyone else. I think this is a good time. Sorry for getting a little bit over time. As I said, I'm not a German timekeeper most of the time. So I'll leave the last words with Dr. Claire, and thank you. I hope you enjoyed the session, and yeah, welcome again.
So just on the somatic, really briefly, I think as adults and as coaches, we need to check in with ourselves because we can make all sorts of things up. Executives won't want somatic work. And yet, with an invitation to go there, it's amazing how surprised we can be, how people really dive into it and find it beneficial. So I think it's more to do with an exploration, a conversation, and playing with and seeing what happens.
Yes, and my role model for this is I'm a very expressive and energetic person. So it will be very difficult for me to not show my thoughts and that's my growth edge in coaching, and my role model is Dr. Claire. I have to remind myself to just stay still, not move my face, because I'm a very and I move my hands and whatever. But in somatic coaching, it's a lot about digging into your body and sensing where you feel what's going on with you. If I may say so, that's my experience. You really go into your body, you check in with yourself, because a lot happens in the brain. So that's more about my 5 cents about somatic coaching.
And even a simple one as a dive in, you know, and where is that stress? That's so simple. And most people can, oh, it's here, oh, it's here, oh, it's in my stomach. That's such an easy way into tapping into, you know, and then how big and all those types of things. So I think it's more on the person having a go at it than culture, but that's just my thoughts there.
Yes, lots to explore.
Absolutely. Britta, that was an amazing session. I sort of feel we need more in terms of what ways we need another session. You know, what ways can we learn from each other around this? How do we balance self-managing with being very authentic as well? Million other questions we can go into. Maybe we'll set up another one together. Thank you everyone for coming. There's another community cafe on the 14th, and that is someone teaching us how to sell coaching. And there's another conversation with myself and Robin Shohut, the creator with Peter Hawkins of the Seven-Eyed Model. There's 2 links in the chat for my level 1 group, who I'm moving to now. The level 2 group who we're on, that's in your WhatsApp and in the chat as well. And everyone else, see you soon. Thank you, Britta. Wonderful session.